Well, welcome back, everyone. Today I'm going to be reviewing my monthly budget for January. Um, I was originally planning on doing like a video for like weekly reviews, and I decided that that would just be a little too much and pretty much unnecessary. So I chose to review all my weeks separately via a blog on my website, which is stitchpiration.com. I will provide a link for it in the description of this video if you want to go check that out. If you're looking for tips or ideas for your weekly layout. But otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and proceed with what I did for the month of January and how I ended up, and basically what I'm planning to do for the month of February, so that maybe I can kind of reduce some of the things that I didn't like what happened in January, while also continuing to do the things that seem to work well. So, for starters, I'm going to just go ahead and review how I set up my monthly budget, where again, I cancel out all of my funds from my checking account at the beginning of each month, so I have a starting balance of $0 always. I projected that my monthly income was going to be 1,884, with my bills and fixed expenses, which I had written out, totaling 1,777, and I was choosing to save $50 per month. So that would give me two separate transactions going into that savings account of $25. So with all of these totals being added up together and then taken out of my projected monthly income, I assumed that I would have an ending balance of $57 at the end of the month. So, as you can see for the monthly layout page, I basically took all of the information that was on the monthly budget layout and I put it onto the month spread. And this I did so that I could get a visualization of where, or basically how my funds were going to be moving for this month. I also chose to write down all of my account balances at the beginning of each month because I want to track how they're growing, or the worst case scenario if they are reducing. I also again included my savings goal for the month as a reminder that basically my end goal, if I save anything, is going to be this amount here. Now moving on to the weekly spreads, again I'm just going to like quickly glance through these because maybe you're looking for an idea of how to do your layout. I chose to do my daily tasks for the top row, any income coming in for the second, and then any of the expenses for the bottom or third row. I also want to point out that I chose to include my weekly meal plans in here just because it helps me know, first off, what we're going to be eating for the week, but it also allows me to start generating a list for the following week, which has actually helped me reduce my grocery spending. I never actually thought that I would be able to spend 50 or less for my weekly shopping trips, but it is actually possible if you plan ahead and accordingly. So again, I'm just going to quickly go through these. Again, you know, the dailies are up here. I tried tracking my no spends, which, as you can see, I did pretty good. I did really good for the first week. The second week got a little hectic, so I did go off my no spend challenge. But by the third week, things started going back as planned. So again, I was able to go the entire week without any unexpected purchases. And basically, by the fourth week, I had a lot of shift changes at work, And that seemed to affect my no spend challenge a lot. So just try to keep that in mind if you find yourself spending irrationally, or that you're coming up with a lot of unexpected spending, that please check your dailies or any changes in your day-to-day schedule, because those may be affecting how you spend. And if you're able to pinpoint what is making you spend off your budget, you can start to plan accordingly so that you can reduce how much you do actually spend. Because once you're aware of it, you pretty much don't allow yourself to be in situations where you know you're going to spend more than you should. And this basically takes us to the very final week of January. And another thing is if you are new to using the Happy Planner spreads, the first 3 days of February, or technically for any month, in this case it is the first 3 days, but for any of the following months, if the day of the month falls on Monday, it will be included in that portion of the month, where the remainder days, in this case February, are going to be included in January. However, I'm not choosing, I'm sorry, it's been a very long week, but I'm choosing not to include these 3 days here in my January planner, just because they're days of February. So I made sure that I put a very clear border, and when I go to do my February budget, anything that occurs on these 3 days will be included in February. So I do have to remember when I'm totaling up at the end of the month to include these 3 days. And as you can see, I did have a change in my schedules, but since I was aware of it from the previous week, I pretty much made sure that I did not put myself in a situation where I would spend. So far we are about to reach our no spend goal, which is great because that's pretty much what I look forward to. That has helped. This little sticker right here, I mean, even if you don't have this sticker and you just want to draw it out in your planner, this has helped a lot. So I highly recommend using this no spend checklist if you're trying to reduce your spending. So after flipping through the month, it takes you to the expense tracker page in your bill pay checklist. And again, anytime that I had any expenses that were not on my projected bills, I listed them on this page. And you would check off if you used cash, credit, debit, and if it was a need or a want. And so far for this month, I basically spent on what I would consider needs. And the thing that I am like the most proudest of for this month, for me at least, is I did not use a credit card once, which was unimaginable for the month of December. So we are already off to a great start for this year with this. Now, I did have a couple of wants, but again, if I look back at these days of when they occurred, these are on the weeks where my schedule was changing, hectic things were going on, and I was stressed out. So, I mean, unfortunately, it took me to the end of the month to figure that out, but now I'm aware that when I'm in that mode, that I need to keep myself out of situations of where I'm going to be inclined to make purchases where I really don't need them. It's just under the circumstances that I want them. Again, with the bill pay checklist, I just wrote down all of my bills, the projected bills and that, the due dates, the amounts that they were, and I checked them off as I went. And basically, I have everything checked off here except for the one additional payment I wanted to make towards my credit card of Focus for this month. And the reason being is I actually did have the funds for that. It's just my heating bill for this month was almost triple what I had projected. So if it was not for that fact, I would have had the funds to put on this card. I'm still a little upset about that, but the good news is I was able to compensate for having, I mean, it was technically $83 extra. And I did not have to revert back to putting those funds on a credit card. Instead, I was able to just move my funds around, generate some extra income, and I was able to pay that off using just the funds in my checking account. Again, without having to resort and rely on credit cards, which is what I'm really trying to break the habit of. The final notes for my month was that, again, I generated an extra $171 for this month, which is amazing because I did this really just by being at home, by putting a couple items on eBay, just really simple things that really didn't take a lot of effort, and it was really easy to come up with those funds. The other thing is that my ending balance ended up being $7.71, where I had originally projected 57, which would have allowed me to cover the extra payment, which was 32. But, things happen, and like I said, I did end up spending a couple of once. But the good news is that the balance ended up being positive. So, I mean, that's on the plus side, literally, no pun intended. But I do want to keep in mind that I technically was still $49.29 over budget. So I want to keep a watch on that for the month of February. Now, I chose my last 4 tasks were that I need to update my payment projections for more accurate amounts for my budget for February, whereas I just kind of like quickly guesstimated these. So now my following budget should be a little bit more accurate, and hopefully I'll get a clearer number at the end of this. I also need to remove my car insurance since it's technically prepaid. I choose to prepay my car insurance by 6 months instead of doing a monthly premium, and it is due in March, so I do have that as a side note. But I do actually keep funds in a separate savings account specifically for car needs. So if I'm not able, which more than likely, if I'm not able to come up with like the 300 some that's necessary for that, I'm just going to use those funds again instead of relying on a credit card. The next thing is that I share a phone line with my father, and he pays his portion of the bill to me. I forgot to put this in my income, so I need to include it, even though it is only like 20 some dollars. I do need to include it in my income so that it's not messing up my overall figures. And the last and final note that I want to close this video out with is that even though I technically was over budget, I do want to pat myself on the back for ending up with a positive ending balance, just because this was the first time in a very long time that I can actually remember where I've made it through a month without relying on credit cards because I did not have the money. So, and the other thing I wanted to note too is that I was able to put back $90 in my savings accounts. And I know what some of you may be thinking is, hey, if your overall goal is to pay down debt, why are you not putting those funds on your debt? And my reason being is that, first off, the $50 savings goal is just to basically like practice savings for whenever I do have the debts down. And the other remaining 40 was for my son's birthday, which is in the month of February, which, if you remember, which is why, again, I love this portion of the monthly budget where it makes you pre-plan for the next month, even though we haven't even went into this month. I almost forgot that his birthday was in February, which, again, would have caused a hectic moment, and I probably would have had to bring out the credit card and try to fund his day with that instead of actually putting back money. So again, I mean, there was multiple times of where I would have had the funds to cover this extra payment, which is comforting to know that I am able to do that. It's just at this time, like during this time of the year for me, there's a lot of money going out to different things. Like I have 2 retirement parties that I have to fund next month, plus my son's birthday party, all right after coming after Christmas. So the money is just a little right now, but from what I'm seeing on here is that I'm going to be fine once we get through the month of February, which is extremely comforting. So I hope that this helped you get an idea of how to use the budgeting edition from the Happy Planner. And again, like if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will try to answer them as best as possible in my next video. So please check me out at stitchpiration.com and subscribe to my blog, and you'll get weekly updates of how my budget is proceeding for the year. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful rest of, well, technically, well, I hope you have a wonderful rest of January. You got about 20 minutes. But have a wonderful February, and I hope that this helps you plan for a successful month. Thanks for watching.